Hey guys, Bingo Cat here. So today's video is going to be about my Dell XPS 15, and this video is also the camera test video for my new phone. I have switched to the iPhone 10 as my main phone. I've always been curious about iPhones. I've never actually owned one, and so this is my first iPhone. I like it so far. I don't think I'm going to switch back to Android, but we'll see, but that's more of a story for a different video. Anyways, so this video is going to be about the Dell XPS 15, and I've decided to sell the Dell XPS 15 for a couple of reasons. So for those of you who don't know, I bought a Dell XPS 15 in May of last year, and I intended to use this as sort of like a video editing machine and also use it to run some virtual machines off of there for like work purposes and maybe some 1080p gaming. It's a good computer for the most part, but the main reason I'm selling it actually is because I just don't use it as much as I thought I would. I thought I wouldn't be as home as often as I actually am, so basically whenever I need a powerful computer, I just use my desktop over here. I just built this year. It has an 8th generation Intel Core i7 8700K processor in there, and a 1080 Ti, 32 gigs of RAM, multiple SSDs, etc. I just don't use this laptop as much as I thought I would, and I kind of hate to have this very powerful computer just sitting around not being used that much. So I decided to sell this, and I'm actually debating on switching my main computer to a Mac anyways, because I'm sorry, I just don't like Windows 10 that much at all. I much prefer Mac OS, but that's also a story for a different video. This laptop, for the 1 year or so I've owned it, has actually been pretty decent. There are a few major issues, and yes, they were pretty major, that I had with this laptop. The main issue is that this laptop would thermal throttle when doing anything intensive on here. So it had a relatively powerful processor for the time this computer came out. By 2018, it's actually sort of, it's not bad, but it's sort of weak sauce compared to what you can get in the Dell XPS 15 now. It has an Intel Core i7 7700HQ processor. It's a quad-core processor. Not bad at all, but considering that you can get an i9 processor that has, 6 cores? Might even be octa-core, but I think it's 6. And the newest Dell XPS, this was the top-end processor, the quad-core one, the 7700HQ that you could get in this Dell XPS at the time. It's plenty powerful, but this computer, unfortunately, the chassis it's not designed basically to handle any intensive work over an extended period of time. Like, sure, you can do, intense work or whatever for a few minutes, but then the computer will start thermal throttling, and unfortunately, it's a huge pain, and it doesn't matter if you're gaming or video editing or what kind of heavy workflow you have, this computer will unfortunately start thermal throttling. And because the jump to the 8th generation Intel Core processors, it was actually relatively pretty big, like 30+% performance gains, I believe, over the 7th generation Intel processors. Unfortunately, CPU-wise, this laptop did not age that well. And the other annoying thing about this laptop, like, I would have considered using this as my main computer, right? But unfortunately, the Thunderbolt 3 port on this laptop is not a 4-lane Thunderbolt 3 port, which means I can't do stuff like plug in external GPUs to this laptop, because if I did use this as my main computer, I'd want to plug in an external GPU, because the GTX 1050 in here is just not a powerful GPU at all. So I would have wanted to buy an enclosure for my 1080 Ti I have in that rig over there, and just use Thunderbolt 3. So if I wanted to do things like 1440p or 4K gaming or something like that using this computer, I would need a Thunderbolt 3 port with 4 lanes, PCI or whatever. And unfortunately, this only has 2 lanes, so it's Thunderbolt 3 port, I believe. And plus, this computer thermal throttles anyway, so, can't do anything too intense for an extended period of time on this computer. Also, battery life on this computer wasn't that great. I was getting maybe 4 hours if I was lucky. Oftentimes, I wasn't even getting 4 hours. In reality, it might have been less than 3. Not great at all, unfortunately. So, and the other problem I had with this computer is this computer has just the value. I paid about $2,500 for this computer, and that value has not held up well over time. It was very overpriced for the most part when I got it, and the price is definitely, the value of this computer has definitely gone downwards. Like nowadays you can sell this computer for maybe $1,700 on eBay, which, you know, that's not cheap, but it's almost $1,000 cheaper than when I got this computer. And so overall this computer wasn't terrible, but unfortunately there was too many downsides to this computer that I wasn't a huge fan of. Mainly the thermal throttling, the limited Thunderbolt 3 port. I wasn't a huge fan of this carbon fiber. It's a fingerprint magnet. The trackpad on here, it's okay. It's one of the better Windows trackpads I've used, but it still does not compare to the trackpad on a MacBook. Like, this thing is a 2012 computer, and the trackpad is much, much better. Heck, the trackpad on my mom's 2008 MacBook is honestly still better than the trackpad that's on this laptop. And a couple more complaints with this computer. It's not the thinnest computer in the world. It's not the thickest either. But yeah, I also really wish this had an Ethernet port, but it doesn't, or at least some more USB Type-C ports or something like that. And another little annoyance I had with this computer is that even though it does have a USB Type-C / Thunderbolt port over here on the side next to the HDMI port, it doesn't support charging through USB Type-C / Thunderbolt 3. I mean, you can plug in a cable, and I believe it will transfer power, but the computer just consumes way more power than a USB Type-C cable would be able to provide to this computer. I can never get it to work correctly, and if I were to plug in, plug in a power brick over here with USB Type-C and plug it into there, Windows doesn't even say the laptop's even charging. And so I don't even know if it's working. I read online that it could work, but unfortunately it doesn't really work in my experience. And I don't know, I just haven't been using this computer that much because I have this computer over here, and I really don't need a powerful computer on the go because I don't travel that much. Most places I go, like when I go to my job, for example, already has a computer that's powerful enough for what I need to do there. And in other cases, I can just use my MacBook, and if I really want to, I could also dual boot Windows on here. Even though this is a 2012 computer, it can still do a lot of what I require from a laptop computer, like, web browsing, office applications, a couple of other miscellaneous applications. Nothing too heavy, no heavy gaming or anything like that, or video editing. Basically, a computer like this is more than fine for what I need in a laptop. And I also do have a spare Windows laptop, not the big bulky old one on the bottom, but on top I got a spare Windows laptop. So basically I just came to the conclusion that I don't need this laptop. And so I recently did buy an iPhone 10, and I'm buying an Apple Watch Series 3 as well. So I figured I could just sell this and it would cover the cost of my iPhone and my Apple Watch, and I'd still have money left to spare. So I just don't need this, and to be honest, I really don't recommend anyone buy this computer because of all the downsides I listed, especially the thermal throttling. I mean, it's a nice looking computer, but it's not the best performing. And there are other similar laptops to this, like the Aero 15 or the new Razer Blade, that honestly don't really have, I believe, the thermal limitations. that this thing has while being about the same size. And so yeah, that is why I am selling off this laptop. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like it if you like it. Please check out my social media links down below in the video description. And as always, I hope to see you guys next time. Goodbye.